All right, and shalom, shalom, shalom. This is Deacon Ernest James, and I'm coming out of Durham, North Carolina, King James Bible University. And today's teaching I will be bringing forth is entitled, For the Spirit of God Shall Be Thy Confidence. So today, my brothers and sisters, we have to understand that JEHOVAH, the Spirit of God, He is our God. It is He that made us. So He fashioned us and designed us to be in His image, in His representation, in His likeness. So we should be as a shadow unto Him. So we need to operate according to how He has designed us. So we shouldn't be operating according to our own will or trusting in our own way. Because if we do that and we want to operate how we want to operate, then that is showing that we have left off from our purpose on what we need to do. Now we have fallen to unbelief because we're not trusting in what He's showing us and what He's instructing us on. Now we start developing our own thoughts and desires that then lead us to confusion, and we start following our own way. Now having a lack of understanding, then leading us to this state of darkness and doubt and uncertainty. Now all these fears and anxieties come up. Different troubles and sorrows start developing in our minds, causing us to make bad decisions because now we're dependent on our own human logic, which leads to nothing but more despair and a loss of hope. Because we decided to leave off from our hope, our assurance, which is the Word of God. So now we have to go on this journey, this path to redemption. So we have to go from this doubt, this uncertainty, this lack of belief, being troubled with fears. We have to persevere. We have to persevere through those things that we're dealing with in order to have unwavering trust and loyalty and obedience to JEHOVAH, which is a complete trust and total dependency on the Spirit of God to lead us in all our thoughts and our actions, which can then assure our safety from falling off the path and assuring our success on this journey. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get into this teaching. For the Spirit of God shall be thy confidence. So we're going to start right here on the left side of the screen, right here in Psalms chapter 100 and verse 3. Psalms chapter 100 and verse 3. And he tells us, Know ye that the Lord, the Spirit of God, He is God. It is He that have made us, and not we ourselves. Full thought. We are His people and the sheep of His pasture. So it was the Spirit of God that created us, that formed us. He fashioned us according to His design, but He made us to be a peculiar treasure unto Him. This is what He did. We're going to see this. We're going to go over here to Psalms. Psalms chapter 135 and Psalms chapter 135 and verse 4. And it says, For the Spirit of God has chosen Jacob unto Himself, and Israel for His peculiar treasure. And now we'll go over here to the law, and we'll see the same thing. So now we're going to go to Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 14 and verse 2. And He's telling us right here. Deuteronomy chapter 14 and verse 2. And it says, For thou art in your perfection and beauty an holy people, a separated people, unto the Spirit of God, thy guide. And the Spirit of God hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto Himself, above all the nations that are upon the earth. So we were a chosen people. So we're a chosen people by the Spirit of God to be a special people unto him. That's why he said we're a peculiar treasure. So he separated us to himself and blessed us with his wisdom. And we were supposed to follow the instructions of our God, no matter what, because he made us and not we ourselves. So we shouldn't have our own thoughts and desires that are outside of the desire of the Spirit of God. Doing things that are contrary to him or operating outside of what we were intended to do. For example, it's just as a car. So let's say you take a car that one built or designed. So that car is a vessel, and the one that's operating that car is navigating from one point to another. But that car should function to the will of the creator of it. So when he gives it gas and he puts it in drive, it should move forward. And when he hits the brakes, it should stop. But if that car begins to malfunction and doesn't accelerate when you push the gas and doesn't go into drive and reverse as you desire it, but goes contrary, then it has an operating issue, making it then defective. So this is the same as we being vessels of Jehovah's Spirit to reside in us. So he made and designed us to operate according to his will. But if we have started going backwards instead of forward, then we become defective, inoperable. And that means we have an internal issue that we need to resolve within ourselves, because now we've started to rely on ourselves and our own will rather than the influence of the Spirit leading us. And we can't even see when he's telling us how this happened. When we go over here to 2nd Esdras, we're going to go to 2nd Esdras, chapter 3. 2nd Esdras, chapter 3. And we're going to hit verse 4 down to verse 8. And he's telling us right here. He says, O Lord, who bears rule, thou spakest at the beginning, when thou didst plant the earth, and that thyself alone, and commandest the people. Verse 5. And gave us a body unto Adam without soul, which was the workmanship, so the creation of thine hands. Matter of fact, we'll go over here to the Paleo Hebrew keyword dictionary real quick so we can see that. Because I want to make sure that we can see that. So we see workmanship. And we see it right here. Workmanship. You see the spirit, the craftsmanship, the creation. And we see right here, design, product. So we're seeing that right there. He's telling us that's exactly what we are. So we see right here in verse 5, he says, and gave a body unto Adam without soul, which was the creation, the design of thy hands, thy powers, and it is breathed into him the breath of life, and he was made living before thee. Verse 6, and thou leadest him into paradise, which thy right hand, thy righteous power, had planted, before ever the earth came forward. And unto him thou gavest commandment to what? Love thy way, to promise thy way, which he transgressed, and immediately thou appointest death in him and his generations, of whom came nations, tribes, people, and kindreds out of number. Verse 8, and every people walked, so they lived after their own will, and did wonderful things before thee, and despised thy commandments. So they hated, they rejected thy commandments. So we see here how this further illustrates how we are the creation and the design of the Most High. He made us in his image, in his likeness, to be a representation of him. And he gave us life and instructions to follow and how we shall operate according to his will. But as we see, we rejected those things and decided to go our own way. And we started relying on our own ways of thinking. So we have to understand that without the reliance on the Spirit, then we will always be in a state of confusion with no certainty on what we are doing. So We don't want to live that way in uncertainty without guidance and counsel from God. So we can even see even more on this, how he formed us and how he fashioned us. When we go over here to Sirach. So we're going to go right here to Sirach, chapter 17. We're going to go to Sirach, chapter 17, starting at verse 1. Yeah, we're going to take it from verse 1 down to verse 8. Sirach or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 17, verse 1 down to verse 8. And he's telling us, he says, verse 1, the Lord, the Creator, created man of the earth and turned him into it again. He gave them few days and a short time, and power also over the things therein. Verse 3, he endued them with strength by themselves and made them according to his image. We see this. Verse 4, and put the fear of man upon all flesh, and gave him dominion over beasts and fowls. Verse 5, they received the use of the 5 operations of the Lord, and in the 6th he imparted them understanding, and in the 7th speech, an interpreter of the connotation, so the thoughts thereof. Verse 6, counsel. So this counsel is what? He gave us advice, guidance, instruction, and purpose, and a tongue. So he gave us customs, traditions, and practices. And eyes, he gave us understanding, ears to perceive, to listen, to obey, and a heart, a desire, gave he them to understand. Verse 7, withal he filled them with the knowledge of understanding, and showed them good and evil. He set his understandings upon their hearts, upon their desires, that he might show them the greatness of his works. So we see even here all these things that the Most High did for us. He gave us everything that we needed to be successful on this journey. So technically, we are without excuse. This is clear. So see, the Most High, we have to remember that, as we seen when we first started this teaching, we are his people. He made us. He designed us. And we not ourselves. We are his pasture. We seen that, which this pasture can be looked at as a vineyard, and he cultivated it in a certain type of way. So why do we still go against his will? So why do we do this? Matter of fact, let's look at that, because we're gonna look at pasture so we can even see why I even said that. So we're gonna go right here, pasture, and we see it right here. You see what? A field, a vineyard, land, pasture. That's what we're talking about. So that's what we are. It's just like a vineyard. And we can even see this when we go over here to Isaiah. And remember, he gave us all these things, all this wisdom, all this knowledge, all this understanding. He gave us counsel. He gave us a heart to understand and customs to follow. But when we go over here to Isaiah chapter 5, we can even see what he's saying. Matter of fact, we're gonna start at Isaiah chapter 5. We're gonna take it from verse 1. We're going to take it from verse 1 down to verse 4. Isaiah chapter 5, verse 1 down to verse 4. And it says, now will I sing to my well-beloved, a song of my beloved touching his vineyard. So we know what this is. This is us. My well-beloved have a vineyard in a very fruitful hill, and he fenced it and gathered out the stones thereof and planted it with the choicest vine and built a tower in the midst of it and also made a winepress therein. And he looked that it shall bring forth grapes. So bring forth these fruits, bring forth these works, and it brought forth wild grapes. So we see what's going on. Verse 3. And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judah, judge, I pray you, betwixt me and my vineyard and my people and my pasture. What could have been done more to my vineyard that I have not done in it? Wherefore, when I looked that it should bring forth grapes, it brought forth wild grapes. So this is the thing. This is the issue. So think about that. We see all these things that the Most High has done for us. He's given us everything, the very best of himself, but we still go contrary to that. We see that. That's why I even have to bring up the point about these addictions that we have. We sit there and develop these bad habits because we did according to our own will. We didn't operate to our own design. But even now, after receiving the truth, we still struggle with these things because we're addicted to doing things according to the flesh than living according to the word of God. So we're going to go somewhere. We're going to go to Isaiah, because we're going to see when we go over here to Isaiah chapter 55 and verse 11. And he's telling us right here in Isaiah chapter 55 and verse 11, he says, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth, and it shall not return unto me void, but however it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereunto I sent it. Is this not what he did? This word went out, and it shall prosper in what? In us. And it should bring forth good fruit. But what did it do? He said, when I looked that it shall bring forth grapes, it brought forth wild grapes. So this is the issue. So we've seen that he made us living before him. He gave us his spirit. He gave us understanding. He gave us counsel, eyes, ears, and a heart to understand. So how is it possible that we produce anything outside of what we should? This is the question that we have to answer within ourselves, because it makes no sense. So if we sit in here, if we sitting there saying, "Oh, I'm just addicted. I'm addicted to alcohol, or I'm addicted to drinking. I'm addicted to lust, to drugs and pills. Oh, I just got this problem. I got that problem. I got this issue going on. I can't stay off my phone. I'm stuck on social media." So we got all these issues going on. We doing all these fleshly works, but a lot of times we'll sit there and straddle the fence on things that we need to understand, especially when it comes to these different addictions that we might have. And we'll sit there and wrestle within ourselves on these things because we are unsure that we can overcome these things. So when all we really have to do is just stop and just put it down. But we can't do that if we always going to try and rationalize in our own heads on something, trying to give ourselves some type of justification for what we're doing instead of just letting it go. We'll say, well, I don't know. I'll think about it. What if this happened? What if that happens? So this is what we do. So why do we struggle so badly with trusting that we can overcome these things that we're dealing with? If we just walk away from it and allow JEHOVAH to help us and guide us. Because he's telling us something. When we go to Isaiah, we're going to hit Isaiah chapter 45. Isaiah chapter 45. And we're going to hit verse 4 and verse 5. He's telling us. He says, "For Jacob, my servant's sake, and Israel, my elect, I have even called thee by name, by way. I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me." Verse 5. "I am the Spirit of God, and there is none else. There is no God beside me. I girded thee, though thou hast not known me." We can see this when we're going to hit Isaiah over here. In Isaiah chapter 1 And we're going to hit verse 3 and verse 4. He telling us. He says, the ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. However, Israel doeth not know. My people doeth not consider. Verse 4. Sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters. They have forsaken the Spirit of God. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel unto anger. They are gone away backward. So this is what we're doing. Why? Because we continue to reject knowledge. So it's not a thing as if we can't get it. We just sitting there refusing it. We can see it when we go over here to Hosea. Hosea chapter 4. And we're going to hit verse 6. We're going to hit verse 7 as well. Hosea chapter 4, verse 6 and verse 7. He telling us, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou should be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children. So our works. This is what he's saying. Verse 7. As they were increased, so they sinned against me. For that reason will I change their glory into shame. Why? Because we should be this peculiar treasure. As we seen, this is what we supposed to be. He said, thou art a holy people unto the Spirit of God. So we should have this holiness about us, being separated unto him, and this brightness about us according to his knowledge, being a light to the world, being examples. But we sitting there trying to trust in our own selves, trying to establish our own way. This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. We shouldn't be doing this. So we're gonna go to Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 16. And we're going to hit verse 35 down to verse 37. Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 35 down to verse 37. And it says, wherefore, O harlot, hear the word of the Spirit of God. Thus saith the Lord God, the Creator, JEHOVAH, because thy filthiness was poured out, and thy nakedness discovered through thy whoredoms with thy lovers, and with all the idols of thy abominations, and by the blood, so the lifestyle of thy children of thy works, which thou didst give unto them. Verse 37, remember, therefore, I will gather all thy lovers, with whom thou hast taken pleasure, and all them that thou hast loved, because these are the things that we promise, the stuff that we trust in, with all of them that thou hast hated. I will even gather them round about against thee, and will discover thy nakedness unto them, that they may see all thy nakedness. So what's nakedness? We see it. We see it right here. We see nakedness. We see nakedness right here. He telling us nakedness. What's that? Our confusion, sin, perpetual shame. He letting us know right here. This is our shame, our confusion, our sin, and it's perpetual. So he clearly letting us know what's going on. That's why he said, I will change their glory into shame. This is the issue that we're having. This is what we've gotten into because we decided to trust in our own selves. So now let's go to Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 18. We're going to hit Jeremiah chapter 18. Then we're going to hit verse 15 and verse 16. And he tells us, he says, because my people have forgotten me, they have burned incense to vanity, and they have caused them to stumble in their ways from the ancient paths to walk. So to live in paths and ways in a way not cast up. Verse 16, to make their land desolate and a perpetual hissing. So this perpetual is this everlasting hissing, this mockery. Everyone that passeth thereby shall be astonished and wag his head. So this is what's going to happen. And we can see the same thing when we go over here to Lamentations chapter 2. He telling us the same thing right here in Lamentations chapter 2 and verse 15. He telling us, he says, all that pass by clap their hands at thee. They hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem. So the offspring of Jerusalem, of the house of Israel, saying, is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth? So he's asking. So this is what we're dealing with. This perpetual hissing, this mockery, because it don't matter where you go or where you are or what city you in, you always going to see majority of us, majority of the time in a certain type of position in the hood areas and rundown neighborhoods. This is where we are, the majority of us. Matter of fact, it's one particular street that I pass through almost every day at my job, and it's always something going on out there, and it's mostly us. You got people out there running around half naked, strung out. It's always some type of confusion, and it's really a shame, and you can see it. But what it always come back to is the fact that the Most High, he told us what to do. He gave us instructions. He made it clear to us, and we rejected it. Because to us, we always feel like there's a better way to do something, and however we see it. And he told us that if we do that, if we decide to go against him and we're gonna do our own thing, he told us what was gonna happen to us. So we're gonna go somewhere. We're gonna go to Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 5. He tells us right here in Jeremiah chapter 17 verse 5, and it says, thus saith the Spirit of God, cursed be the man that trusteth in man and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departeth from the Spirit of God. So we decide to make flesh our strength. And we do that when we depart from God's instructions to do things another way. And remember how we had talked about pride. And we're going to see this again when we decide to depart from God. When we can go to Sirach chapter 10 and verse 12. And he tells us right here in Sirach chapter 10 and verse 12. He telling us, he says, the beginning of pride is when one departed from God and his heart is turned away from his maker. So that's the same thing he's telling us. Because when we decide to trust in ourselves, we sitting there doing something that we shouldn't be doing. So we're seeing how this is still tying back into pride. We'll sit there and we're given instructions, we're given wisdom and guidance on the way that we should go, but we refuse to accept it. Not only is that pride, but that shows a complete lack of faith and trust in the Spirit of God. So when we do that, our only option then is that we revert back to trusting in what we know, to the things that we're used to. And that's flesh, listening to worldly advice, trusting in your own strength, which is going to lead to a curse, being damned to destruction, all because we want to be disobedient. And he told us all of this was going to happen. So we're going to see something. We're going to go over here to, we're going to hit Wisdom of Solomon. Because it ain't like he ain't tell us. So we're going to go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18. We're going to hit verse 19. He telling us right here, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18 and verse 19. He telling us, he says, for the dreams that troubled them did foreshow this, lest they should perish and not know why they were afflicted. So he's saying the dreams that troubled them did foreshow this. So what are dreams? We're going to see something. Let's go over here, back to the spiritual dictionary. we gonna look at dreams. So we see, consider visions or prophecies, dreams and visions. Let's see. We see dreams. It's parable. It's prophecy. It's a revelation. So he letting us know right here that these dreams is prophecies. So let's look up. Let's look at prophecy, because these are dreams. We can see them right here. Prophecies, revelation, divination, foretelling. Because these dreams, these prophecies did foreshow this. This is what he's telling us what's going on. So when we go back over here, so what we need to understand is that we were already foretold things that would happen unto us when we decided to walk contrary to JEHOVAH. This is why we need to look at it and understand what's going on. Because before we came to the knowledge of the truth, most of us, we were going through all these different pains and sufferings and tribulations, this distress and all these things going on. And we didn't even know why we were being afflicted. That's why a lot of us sat there, we'll walk around and blame everybody else for everything. We like to blame the white man for everything. It's always the white man this, the white man that. Why we always struggling? Why we always at the bottom of the totem pole? Why is this stuff always happening to us? And don't even realize that this was already told to us, because he said the dreams that troubled them did foreshow this. And these dreams are prophecy. So we're going to see that these prophecies are going to foretell what's going to come to pass. And we can see it here because he told us. That's why I keep saying it ain't like you just sitting here and he ain't tell us. Because he made it clear to us right here. When we go right over here to Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15. He telling us right here. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15. He says, but it shall come to pass. So he let you know right there that this is going to happen. He let you know that this is clear prophecy on what's going to happen. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Spirit of God thy guide, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So we see it here. He made it real clear to us. If we decide to take it upon ourselves and not take heed to his instructions, that all these curses will come upon us. Now, we're not going to read all of this, but we just want to look at one thing in particular over here, and we're going to see it. We're going to go to the same chapter, Deuteronomy chapter 28, but we just want to hit these right here, verse 66 and verse 67. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 66 and verse 67. He telling us right here. He says in verse 66, he says, all thy life shall hang in doubt, exactly, before thee. And thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life. Okay, and what's assurance? We're going to see. Assurance. See, establish right here. What? Trust, rest, believe, assurance. What? Confidence. So he letting us know right here. Our confidence supposed to be in the Spirit of God, but because we chose to do our own thing and we rejected his knowledge, he said all these curses going to come upon thee. We see it right here. He letting us know. And shall have none assurance, shall have no confidence of thy life. Verse 67, he says, in the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even. And at evening thou shalt say, would God it were morning. For the fear of thine heart, so the fear of thy mind, wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thy eyes of your understandings, which thou shalt see. So see, we have this doubt leading to this unbelief. This unbelief is a curse. And he said, he letting us know we ain't gonna have no type of assurance, no trust, no faith, no certainty, no confidence in anything in our life. But the Spirit of God is supposed to be the one that we supposed to have our trust in. That's supposed to be the case. But why isn't it? That's the thing. But we sitting here with a life full of all these fears and all these anxieties. That's why a lot of times, a lot of us can even feel like we'll start walking around feeling like we always got a target on our back. Every time we in the vicinity of police or authorities, we always getting uptight and start feeling real uneasy around them because all we can think about is what we see, what happens to a lot of us. Now we afraid that we might end up the next victim. Shoot, it's even so bad for some of us that we always feel like that we always got to look over our shoulder every minute, think of somebody after us, being paranoid. Now we can't rest. We can't sleep. We always worrying about everything that's going on around us or what we think might happen, making up all these different scenarios in our heads. Oh, what if this happened? Oh, what if that happened? I got to worry about this. I got to worry about that. Always in a constant state of sorrow and doubt. See, all these things. So these are all these things that's happening. And you can't say that it's not us. We can look at it. He said for the fear of thine heart. And he telling us right here. So matter of fact, so we can see. So we can understand this fear right here. He letting us know fear is what? Afraid. You gonna have all these things going on, being fearful, because that's the fear that we looking at right here, that dread, that terror, doubt. He letting us know. He letting us know right now what's going on. To be afraid, terror, fearful. So he making this real clear to us. Exactly what's going on. To be fear, terror, dread. So he letting us know. So this is what we dealing with. This is exactly what we dealing with. Dismayed. Matter of fact, let's look at dismayed. So we want to see everything that's going on with this. So we understand the position that we got ourselves in. What's being dismayed? We see it. Confounded, confused, discomforted, perplexed, put to shame. We seen that. What? Be afraid, discouraged, terrified, troubled, faint-hearted, coward, discouraged, weak-willed. For clarification. So we see this. We see all this stuff that's encompassing fear. This is what we dealing with. So he let us know. What he say? In the morning, with God and we're even. So we sitting there, we can sit there being worried about our jobs that we got to go to, our bills we got to get paid, our tasks that we have to take care of, and all the stuff that we have to deal with, constantly worrying about all the things that we're going to face or what we might encounter. And we just sitting there, oh, I can't wait for this to be over with. And then in the evening, now we sitting there consumed with all our thoughts and worries and troubles at night for the stuff that we might got to face the next day. We can't rest. We constantly worrying. It's a constant cycle, nonstop, and it just repeats itself. And this is what happens. This is what we getting into. So we should be understanding this wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18, verse 19 over here, where he said, for the dreams that troubled them did foreshow this, lest they shall perish and not know why they were afflicted. So we should understand that. We should clearly know why we were afflicted, because these prophecies let us know exactly why. So these are these curses that came upon us because of our own disobedience. So we can't sit there and put blame somewhere else because we decided to trust in ourselves and try to lead our own lives. Now we have to face the consequences for it. This is what happens. So now we're going to go to Sirach. We're going to go to the book of Sirach. chapter 40. And we're going to hit verse 1. Yeah, we're going to go from Sirach chapter 40. We're going to hit verse 1 down to verse 8. Sirach chapter 40, verse 1 down to verse 8. And it says, great travail is created for every man, so for every male and female, and a heavy yoke is upon the sons of Adam. From the day that they go out of their mother's womb till the day that they return to the mother of all things. Verse 2, their imaginations of the things to come, and the day of death trouble their thoughts and cause fear of heart. See, all these things happen. Shoot, many people fear death because we don't understand it. But should we fear death? We can even see it. When we go over here, we're going to pivot real quick to Sirach chapter 41. Because many of us, we fear death. But he tells us in Sirach chapter 41 and verse 3, he telling us right here. He says, fear not the sentence of death. Remember them that have been before thee and that come after. For this is the sentence of the Creator over all flesh. So we see this here because we have to understand that death is a part of life because it's a separation that has to happen. It's a change, a transition from one state to another. So we have to experience death in order to get to life. But that's a whole different thing. But the point is, should we fear death? No, but many of us do. Because I can tell you how I remember how I used to always go through my head and make up scenarios in my own head how I might die or when it could happen, all these different things and coming up with all these different thoughts. So if I've actually done that, but some of us will say that we don't just to make it seem like a certain type of way. And some are actually sincere, but when we sitting there just faking it, we ain't doing nothing but fooling ourselves. Because the thing is, you won't really know how strong you are until you put to the test, until you put in a situation where you staring death face to face. Then you're going to find out what you're really about. Because matter of fact, we can even see how JEHOVAH, when he prayed to the Father 3 times about this. We can even see this when we go over here to Matthew. So we're going to go to Matthew chapter 26. Matthew chapter 26 and verse 39. So we can even see what JEHOVAH did. Matthew chapter 26 verse 39. He says, and he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, O my Father, if, provided it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt. So we see what he did. So for that little moment, he was trying to see if there was any other way. But the thing is, he ain't never go off and do his own will. He didn't trust in his flesh. He stayed the course no matter what and trusted in JEHOVAH. See, that's what we trying to get to. But we'll sit there and ain't even never been in this type of position, and we'll be so quick to say what we're going to do. We'll say, oh yeah, I do the same thing. I'll do the same thing. See, this is what we'll say. And then we see what Peter did when he told him he was going to deny me these 3 times, and he did exactly that. But we think we all that until we put in a position to test us. But the point is, these thoughts and these imaginations that we have, these fears, these things happening unto us, why? Because we sitting here in flesh. This is the thing. So when we go back over here to Sirach chapter 40, now we'll start at verse 3. He telling us, he says, from him that sitteth on a throne of glory unto him that is humble in the earth and ashes. See, it don't matter what position you in. You going through this. Verse 4. From him that weareth purple and a crown unto him that is clothed with a linen frock. Verse 5. Wrath, envy, trouble, and unquietness, fear of death, and anger, and strife. And in the time of rest upon his bed, his night sleep, do change his knowledge. So it do change his understanding. Verse 6, a little or nothing is his rest, and afterward he is in his sleep, as in a day of keeping watch, troubled in the vision of his heart, as if he were escaped out of a battle. Verse 7, when all is safe, he awaketh, and marveleth that the fear was nothing. Verse 8, such things happen unto all flesh, both man and beast, and that is sevenfold more upon sinners. Why? Because we disobedient, we unrighteous, due to our lack of understanding, our knowledge and wisdom. And we sit there in constant rebellion then that leaves us open to all these plagues of our mind and our body that can come within us because we don't have any protection. We don't have any defense from these things because we decided to walk contrary to the Most High. He tells us when we go over here, we're going to go to Leviticus. We're going to go to Leviticus chapter 26. And we're going to hit verse 21 down to verse 24. Leviticus chapter 26, verse 21 down to verse 24. He telling us, he says, and providing you walk, so you live contrary unto me, and will not hearken unto me, I will bring 7 times more plagues upon you according to all your sins. Verse 22. I will also send wild beasts, so these savage, these untamed evil men among you, which shall rob you of your children, of your works, and destroy your cattle, and make you few in number. And your highways, so this is supposed to be the way of holiness, this path of righteousness, shall be desolate. It's going to be ruined. It's going to be destroyed. Verse 23, and if you will not be reformed, so converted by me, by these things, but will live contrary unto me, then I will also walk contrary unto you, and will punish you yet 7 times for your sins. See, all these things are going to happen because of our lack of protection due to how we want to live. See, these things are going to come in and plague us. Matter of fact, we'll go back over here to Deuteronomy. Yep, we're going to go right back over here to Deuteronomy, chapter 28. And now, we're going to hit verse 58. Deuteronomy chapter 28, we're going to hit verse 58 down to 61. He tells us right here, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 58 down to 61. He says, if thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful way, the Spirit of God thy guide. Verse 59, then the Spirit of God will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and of long continuance, and sore sicknesses, and of long continuance. He said it twice. Verse 60, that's how you know it's serious. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou was afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. Verse 61, also every sickness and every plague, which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Spirit of God bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. So we see all these things happening, these different diseases, these different sicknesses and plagues in the world. These things done came upon us. This is what happens. So when a virus or a disease tries to attack the body, it automatically goes in defense mode. So the immune system, the different cells and tissues will fight together to try to protect the body from the viruses that's trying to attack it. But the issue is we don't let our bodies do the work, what it was designed to do. We trust in our own wisdom. So we'll sit there and we go and buy these prescription drugs. We get these vaccines and these over-the-counter medications for all these things that we deal with, but don't take out the time and do the actual research and learn of the things that the Most High God has created from the earth to heal us of these things. But what we do, we rather suppress it with these vain medications created by man, because that's what we used to. Those are the habits that we've gotten into, but that's what we rather do. When he told us right here, when we go over here to Sirach. See, this is the thing. When we go over here to Sirach, he tells us right here in Sirach chapter 38 and verse 4. He made it clear to us right here in Sirach chapter 38 and verse 4. He told us, he says, the Creator have created medicines out of the earth, and he that is wise will not abhor them. So he's not going to hate them. So the one that's wise isn't going to hate them. These medicines from the earth. So we know these are the things that the Most High did, that he created. So for every sickness, every disease, every virus that's out there, there's a herb, a plant, or natural thing that's created to heal those things that try to invade our bodies. But we don't believe this. We don't trust in this. So we still sit here and hear these things being spoken unto us, but we still go back and hold on to what we want to hold to. We still going to trust in our pills. We're going to still trust in our prescriptions. We're going to still trust in these vaccinations instead of the things that the Most High created for us. But then wonder why we still having an issue. Why we still dealing with these things? Why? Because no matter what, we still going to trust in our own way of thinking. We won't trust in the Spirit of God. This is why we still having these types of problems. And we wonder why we can't get through our problems. This is the issue. So we're going to jump down to verse 10. In Sirach chapter 38, we're going to jump down to verse 10, down to verse 15. He telling us right here. Sirach chapter 38, starting at verse 10. He says, leave off from sin and order thy hands aright and cleanse thy heart from all wickedness. Verse 11, give a sweet savior and a memorial of fine flour. So this pure, clean doctrine, and make a fat offering as not being. Verse 12, then give place to the physician, for the Creator have created him. Let him not go from thee, for thou hast need of him. There is a time when their powers there is good success. Verse 14, for they shall also pray unto the Creator, that he will prosper that which they give for ease and remedy. So it's going to heal, it's going to repair, it's going to restore to prolong life. Verse 15, he that sinneth before his maker, let him fall into the hand of the physician. So guess what? We all have sinned before our maker. We know this. This is why we even having this conversation. We've sat there and rejected the truth of God's word, and we went our own ways. Now we sitting here in this position and have been subjected to these things that have came upon us, these different illnesses, these different sicknesses and diseases. But as we seen, just as the Lord, he made medicines from the ground to heal our bodies of these things, the same thing when we look at it, when we flip it, he also gave pastors according to his heart, these physicians, to feed us with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. That's who these are. And we can see this. He's been telling us this the whole time. When we go to Jeremiah chapter 3 and verse 15. Matter of fact, we're going to start at 13 and take it down to 15. Jeremiah chapter 3, starting at verse 13, he says, only acknowledge thine iniquity. That's what we got to do. That thou hast transgressed against the Spirit of God thy God, and hast scattered thy ways to the strangers under every green tree, and ye have not obeyed my voice, saith the Spirit of God. Turn, O backsliding children, saith the Spirit of God, for I am married unto you. I'm joined to you. And I will take you one of a city, two of a family, and bring you to Zion. And I will give you pastors, feeders, according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. So these are going to feed us with the knowledge and understanding. These are the physicians. They're going to feed us with the counsel, the doctrines and teachings from JEHOVAH, which is what protects us. This knowledge, this understanding, this counsel, this doctrine is what protects us from the different evils that try to invade our mind, from this confusion, from these fears, from our doubts, our anxieties, our vain thoughts, our worries, our troubles, all these things. See, these are the sicknesses of the mind. These are the diseases. Trusting in false gods. We were sitting there going in and out of those church buildings Sunday after Sunday, going to these camps, whatever day they going to those, giving away our hard-earned money, running around saying we plead in the blood of Jesus, of this man, sitting there being forced to believe if you didn't attend this church building, something was wrong with you and that you was going to be shunned out. Every time you asked that man a question, you never got your answers. Going from building to building and never finding what you were seeking. Just being consumed by more lies and more confusion. Feeling like you don't know where to turn to. Leading to all these negative thoughts and sorrow of the mind. See, these are the diseases. This is what it is. This Christian mindset that we were serving according to the flesh. Matter of fact, just for a side note, so we can see that when we go to Christian, we're going to see it right here. What he tell you? Christian, what? Mad. Christian. Disease. Diseases. He making it, he letting us know. So this is why we need a physician. We need this physician, these pastors, according to his heart, to feed us with knowledge and understanding, because we got these sicknesses in our mind and we need a remedy, which is the word of God. And these feeders are going to feed us with that remedy, with that medicine to heal us from these diseases, from this Christian mindset that we've had. So this is what we're talking about. So all of us at one point in our lives were plagued with this stuff. So let's go to Proverbs. We're going to go to Proverbs chapter 5 and verse 14. We can't keep letting this stuff take a hold of us. We got to get rid of this stuff. Proverbs chapter 5 verse 14, and it says, I was almost in all evil in the midst of the congregation and assembly. So this is where we all were at one point in our lives. But this word came to us. He sent his teachers, his feeders, according to his knowledge, to feed us with this knowledge and understanding. This is what he did. This is why we right here, right now, every day, every week, every teaching that goes out every day, we hear because we sick and we need help. We need guidance from JEHOVAH. This is why we're here. So let's go to Ezekiel. We're going to go to Ezekiel chapter 34. Ezekiel chapter 34 and verse 16. And it says, I will seek that which was lost and bring again that which was driven away, and will bind up that which was broken, and will strengthen that which was sick. However, I will destroy the fat and the strong. I will feed them with judgment, with doctrines and teachings. So this is what he's going to do. He's going to seek those that were lost, those that were confused, with no path, with no way, brokenhearted, weak-minded, sick and full of infirmities. So all he needs us to do is acknowledge our iniquities, the things that we were doing, the things that's going on with us right now. We need to acknowledge those things and turn back to JEHOVAH. And JEHOVAH, he'll come to us. He's going to help us. He's going to heal us and direct us back on the right path. He's telling us. Let's go to Psalms. Psalms chapter 103. Psalms chapter 103, verse 2 and verse 3. He tells right here. He says, bless the Spirit of God, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who forgiveth all thine acts of sins, thy iniquities, who healeth all thy diseases. Psalms chapter 107 and verse 20. He says, he sent his word and healed them and delivered them from their destructions. So this is what he's given us, his word to heal us, the very best of himself, to restore us and to renew our minds so we can be converted back to him. But the issue is that we still have to address is by us having knowledge of what we need to do. If we still sit there and reject it and still try to find some type of way to put our own little spin in that, how can we then really expect to fight off these things that's trying to invade us, to corrupt our minds, these diseases, these sicknesses? Because we sitting there trying to fight a battle that we can't win. Because we're trying to trust in ourselves and not recognize that we, as humans, as mortals, have limitations. And so we shouldn't be afraid to admit this. Like, we have to recognize our limitations. That's what we have to do. So let's go to Psalms. We're going to hit Psalms right here. Psalms chapter 39. Psalms chapter 39 and verse 4. Yep. Psalms 39 verse 4. And it says, Spirit of God, make me to know mine end and the measure of my days, what it is, that I may know how frail I am. Let's look at frail. He's telling us what? Weak, sickness, feeble, frail, faint, impotent. So this is what he's asking. Because this flesh is weak, it's feeble, it's susceptible to anything that's of sin. This is what we got to understand. So we can't trust in our own flesh. We can't trust in our own ways, our own thoughts. Because if we do that, we're going to be susceptible to sin. Because sin is in the flesh. And we can see this when we go to Romans. Let's go to Romans. Because sin is in the flesh. So let's go to Romans chapter 7. Romans chapter 7. And we're going to hit verse 18 down to verse 20. He tells us right here. He says, for I know that in me, that is, in my flesh, dwelleth no good thing. For to will is present with me. However, how to perform that which is good, I find not. For the good that I would, I do not. But the evil, which I would not, that I do. Verse 20. Now, if I do that I would not, it is no more I that do it, however, sin that dwelleth in me. So we see this. So a lot of the times we do things which we would not because of that sin that's dwelling in us, those evil thoughts. That's why a lot of times we have those thoughts and imaginations that come up with us, and we'll sit there and we'll have a thought that come to our mind and we say, oh shoot, where did that come from? I don't want that there. Like we'll sit there. I don't want that thought there. I don't want that there. Like, where is this coming from? But these things happen because that flesh we're allowing to have dominion over us. We have to let that go. So we have to shed this weight of sin, because the more we eat of it, the more we learn of it, the more we focus on the things of the flesh, the more it's going to weigh us down. So if we put in majority of our time throughout our day into fleshly things, into worldly things, then how can we be surprised if our thoughts are more towards the flesh? That's what happens. So we gotta take our focus off of these things, because this flesh is gonna weigh us down. So let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, so we can see what he telling us what to do. So Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9, and we're gonna hit verse 14 and verse 15. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9, starting at verse 14. And it says, "For the thoughts of mortal men are miserable, and our devices are but uncertain." Yep. Verse 15. "For the corruptible body presseth down the soul, and the earthly tabernacle," this body, this flesh, "weigheth down the mind that museth." So what? Museth. What is it doing? Meditate, considereth, ponder. You ponder, you meditate, you considering. So this mind that meditates, that considereth, that ponders upon many things. This is what we're doing. And this is what we were talking about earlier. Because if we sit there and we spend majority of our time on these things, consuming in these negative thoughts and worries and fears, when those things coming in, and we allowing those things to come in, because we'll sit there and we'll sit there and we'll meditate on them. We'll ponder on those things, instead of just when it comes in, just blocking it out. But we'll sit there and ponder on it, constantly thinking about these things that we're concerned with in this world. See, this stuff is gonna weigh us down, and we can't let this happen. So let's go to 2nd Esdras. 2nd Esdras, chapter 7, and verse 15. He tells us right here. He says, in 2nd Esdras, chapter 7, verse 15, he says, "Now therefore, for that reason, why disquietest thou thyself, seeing thou art in your perfection and beauty, but a corruptible man? Why art in your perfection and beauty thou moved, whereas thou art but mortal?" We ain't nothing but flesh. But he's saying, why disquietest thyself? So we're gonna look at disquietus, because these words, like we wanna clearly understand what he's saying when he say this. See, so we see it right here: disquietus, troublous, agitators. We see all this stuff here: disquieting, being troubling, disturbed, agitating. Look at the clarification he given us. He said this term is used to describe situations, actions, or conditions that disrupt inner peace, that provoke worry, or lead to spiritual and emotional unrest. How many of us are doing this? How many of us are letting this happen? This is what we dealing with. So he telling us, why disquietest thou thyself, seeing that you are but a corruptible man? So why do we actually do this? Especially in situations that we can't control. We shouldn't be trying to be in control of anything. We sitting here disrupting our inner peace, trying to worry about something that we can't control. We still trying to sit there and be in the driver's seat when we are flesh. We mortal. We have limitations. But the thing is, we have to take that step and actually recognizing that we have the problem there. We gotta recognize that that's an issue and be willing to work through it. Not try and sit here and put a mask up and try to hide what the issue is, but see it for what it is and face it. So if fear, anxiety, doubt, unbelief, if all these things are issues for us, we need to see that and be honest with ourselves that we have that issue and we need to deal with it. And the only thing that can help us through it is the word of God. That's what we need to do. We need to realize that. So let's go over here to wisdom. Well, let's hit Wisdom of Solomon. Yeah, we're gonna hit Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 17. Yeah. Wisdom of Solomon. Matter of fact, I just seen something. Let me hit that real quick. So we're going to hit Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 16. Now I'm seeing it and it's sticking out to me. Because this is what we actually need right here. We're going to hit Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 17. But first we're going to hit Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 16 and verse 12. He telling us. He says, "For it was neither herb nor a mollifying plaster that restored them to health, but thy word, O Creator, which healeth all things." So that's what we need. We need that word because that word is everlasting. That's what's gonna restore us to health. That's what's gonna heal us. That's what's gonna mend up our wounds and put us back on the right track on where we need to go. This is what we need. But now let's go to chapter 17. So Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 17. And then we hit verse 12 because we need that word to help us, to heal us. Because we got to get through these fears. We got to get through these anxieties and these doubts that we're having. He tells us right here in chapter 17, verse 12, he says, "For fear is nothing else but a betraying of the succors which reason offereth." So we see what this is. So we're gonna go right here and we're gonna look at succor. We can see succor is help. So we know that our help is coming from what? The Spirit of God. But he said, "For fear is nothing but a betraying of the help which reason offereth." So now let's look at reason. And we're gonna go right to the R's so we can see exactly what reason is. We see it right here. Reason is what? Understanding, wisdom, discernment, judgment, persuasion. We see all these things. This is reason. So he letting us know. For fear is nothing else but a betraying of the help, which understanding, which wisdom, which discernment, which judgment offereth. So that's all it is. The only reason we fear, we having these doubts and these troubles, because we not relying on the wisdom from God. And we need understanding. We need discernment to make good judgment. We got to learn his doctrines and teachings and trust in that. But what it's doing is when we having these issues, when we going through these issues, it's actually revealing to us what's going on with us. And this is what we need to see. When we go to 2 Timothy chapter 1. 2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 7. He telling us right here. He says, "For God have not given us the spirit of fear," full thought, "however of power and of love and of a sound mind." So this is what he given us. He ain't give us the spirit of fear. So if he ain't give us the spirit of fear, then that's something that we've put on ourselves. We've allowed that to come in and corrupt us, because his wisdom, his understanding is our help. JEHOVAH is our strength. He's our trust. So if we holding on to his instructions and his doctrines and teachings, we should have a sound mind, free from the worldly distractions and enticements and the pressures of this life, being in bondage to the elements of this world. We should be free from all that stuff. But are we free from it? Or do we still worry about these things? Do we still stress over these things going on? Because if so, then we have that issue. So this is actually revealing that we're not putting our trust in JEHOVAH like we should. We still in unbelief. We still allowing our thoughts to interfere with our progress on this journey. So we'll end up wavering and second guessing everything. This is why we end up being stagnant. We end up going backwards and not forward. This is something that we absolutely should not do. So what we have to do, we have to shift our mindset from unbelief, because we can even see what unbelief is. Matter of fact, when we go right here, we see unbelief. We're gonna go right to it. It says what? Unbelief, infidel, without faith, heathen ways. This is what we getting into. It's being an infidel, showing that we have heathen ways. This is why it's so serious. Because now we're going to go to 2 Corinthians. Because now when we go over here to 2 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 15, now we're going to clearly understand what he's telling us here. In 2 Corinthians chapter 15, 2 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 15, he telling us, he says, and what concord, so what agreement have JEHOVAH with Belial? What's Belial? Satan, wickedness, useless, worthless. So he's telling him, what agreement have Christ with Satan, with wickedness, with his uselessness? What agreement does he have with that? Or what part have he that believeth with a what? An infidel, with an unbeliever? This is oneness of unbelief. So he's telling us, he's asking us this question. So Christ has no part with wickedness. So if we are stuck on how we see things and we sit there and we won't let go of our doubts and our troubled thoughts, that's causing us to not put all our faith in JEHOVAH, then where do we actually stand? What side of the plumb line are we actually holding to? Cause we seeing it right here. So we gotta figure this out. So now, we got a choice to make. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over here to the rest of the chapters of Esther. We're gonna hit chapter 10. Now, it's gonna look different depending on which Bible you're reading in. But if you're reading out of the Sovereign King James Bible, as you see right here, it's gonna be chapter 10. It's gonna be chapter 10 that we looking at, and verse 10. However, if you're reading out of another King James Bible, 1611 King James Bible, it might say additions to Esther, and they'll be chapter 1 and verse 10. But if you're out of this Bible, the Sovereign King James, it's going to be chapter 10 and verse 10. But if your Bible says additions to Esther, it's going to be chapter 1 and verse 10. So we'll start right here in Esther 10 and verse 10. And it says, therefore, so for that reason, have he made 2 lots, one for the people of God and another for all the Gentiles. So we see it right here. We see how this plumb line is set. You got one lot for the people of God, and the other for all the Gentiles. As a matter of fact, we even go to Gentiles so we can even see why we even over here. Because I go right here. We see Gentiles is what? Heathens. We see heathen. So a heathen is what? A Gentile, an unbeliever. This is why we here. Cause he making it clear. We ain't talking about Japheth. We ain't talking about Japheth children. We talking about those of us who want to hold on to these heathen ways, who want to hold on to unbelief. These are the Gentiles. This is what he letting us know. So you got the people of God that's gonna be in one lot, and you got the other for all the Gentiles. So for all the unbelievers. So what we gonna do? We're gonna look at them. So let's look at the people of God. Let's see them. So we're going to go to Deuteronomy because we gotta make a choice on what side we're going to hold to. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 9. He tells us right here in Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 9. He telling us, he says, for the Spirit of God's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. We see it. So now let's go to Sirach or Ecclesiasticus chapter 24. Ecclesiasticus chapter 24. And we're going to hit verse 8. He tell you right here. Ecclesiasticus chapter 24, verse 8. He says, so the creator of all things gave me a commandment, and he that made me caused my tabernacle to rest, and said, let thy dwelling be in Jacob, and thy inheritance in Israel. So these are the ones that are the people of God. These are going to remove these fleshly ways of thinking and vain thoughts, being converted. Because we can even see when we go over here to Genesis, and we even see what even happened with Jacob. When we go to Genesis chapter 35 and verse 10, because he telling us right here in Genesis chapter 35 verse 10, he tells us, he says, and God said unto him, thy way is Jacob, supplanter. Thy way shall not be called any more Jacob. So you ain't gonna be called by that way no more. But however, Israel shall be thy way. And he called, so he together named his way Israel. So what? Jehovah's servant. So we see here how Jacob's name, his way, was changed to Israel, becoming Jehovah's servant. This is representing this transformation, signifying a rebirth, a new way of life, living according to the will of Jehovah, being in harmony and unison with him, being joined to him, married to him as a wife. So providing we are going to walk this path, live this path, we have to transition from this flesh, this carnal way of thinking and living, but however, embracing the spiritual truths that's given unto us and learning to live in our purpose and true callings as servants of righteousness. He telling us something. When we go to we're gonna go to 1 Peter so we can see something over there. So let's go to 1 Peter. We're gonna hit 1 Peter chapter 2. And we're gonna hit verse 9. Yep, 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9 and verse 10. He tells us right here. Because this is what we supposed to be. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9 and verse 10. He telling us, he says, but ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, an holy nation, a separated nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who have called you out of the darkness. So he called us out of the flesh, that confusion. He called us out of that unto his marvelous light, which in time past were not a people, but are now the people of God. See, that's the people of God, which have not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. So now we'll go to Romans Because all we doing, we just looking at this people of God. Just getting a little understanding on who they are. So Romans chapter 8. And then we're going to hit verse 28. Romans chapter 8, verse 28, down to verse 31. Romans chapter 8, verse 28, down to verse 31. And it says, and we know that all things work together for them. Let me start that over. And we know that all things work together for good to them that promise God, to them who are called according to his purpose. Verse 29. For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his son, of his servant, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Verse 30. Moreover, whom he did predestinate. So let's look at predestinate because it came up again. So we need to make sure we see what this is. So predestinate, he letting us know. Foreordain, foreknew, elect, chosen, Israelite, ordained, destiny. So we see these are the elect. These are chosen. He letting us know. So moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called. To whom he called, them he also justified. And to whom he justified, them he also glorified. Verse 31. What shall we then say to these things? If God be with us, who can be against us? So this is what he's letting us know. So this is our destiny that we hoping for. This is what we should be looking towards. Not sitting here worrying about this stuff that's going on in this world. We have to pass through these things. So if God be for us, who can be against us? But do we truly believe this? Because the only thing that's against us is ourselves. Because we become our own worst enemies if we continuously letting our flesh get in the way. This is our greatest challenge and obstacle that we have to overcome, the bad nature of our own hearts. Because we see what we were called to do, what it is that we need to do. He letting us know. Let's go to Revelations. We're going to go to Revelation chapter 21. Revelation chapter 21. We're going to hit verse 7 and verse 8. Revelation chapter 21, starting at verse 7. He's telling us, he says, he that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my servant. So this is why we are harping so much on why we have to let go of these doubts and these fears. Because if we don't, how can we then ever expect to get to this point? Because we can't ever forget. Please don't forget that we have to look at the other side, because we seen that there's this one lot for the people of God, and that other one is for the Gentiles. And we remember, what's the Gentiles? What is those heathens, the unbelievers? That's the ones that's over there. Those of us that's choosing not to hold to what we need to hold to. That's what's on the other side. And he tells us right here in verse 8, in Revelation chapter 21, verse 8, he says, but the fearful and the unbelieving, the Gentiles, the ones that don't want to hearken to the Most High God, that's still trusting in their own selves, having all these doubts and these fears, this unbelief, that's making you do things how you see it instead of trusting in Jehovah. The fearful and unbelieving, and the abominable, the murderers, the whoremongers, the sorcerers, and idolaters, And all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. So we seeing both sides. So the choice is up to us. Why would we sit there and choose death? And that's why I need to make this clear once again. And because I'm gonna go back over here to Gentile. So I want to make this clear because some people might come up here and say, "Oh, he talking about Gentiles." No. When we speaking of Gentiles, we speaking of what it's talking about spiritually. Heathens, unbelievers. We're not talking about the white man or Japhet's children. We're talking about those of us. Matter of fact, let me go ahead over here to it. In 1 Corinthians chapter 12, instead of me just talking about it, let's go over here and let the Bible speak. 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 2. He let you know. He says, "Ye know that ye were Gentiles, carried away unto these dumb idols, even as we were led." So this is what we're talking about, because we started trusting in other things and started trusting in Jehovah. So this is what we're talking about. We became Gentiles of the mind, unbelieving, trusting in our own ways. So this is what we're talking about. So I just want to make that clear. So we see in both sides. Like I said, the choice is up to us. So we either gonna choose life or we gonna choose death. But if we hold into unbelief, all because we allowing our own uncertainties to cloud our judgment, so we question what we know to be true, because we seeing the truth right here before us. So it's no denying it. But the issue is we so afraid to let go of what we've been accustomed to for so long, being consumed in our own vain thoughts. So then when it come down to it, then we'll sit there and say, "Oh, I would have changed that. I could have did this differently. I should have asked that question." See, these are the things that we're going to do and ponder on, but then it's going to be too late. Only then leaving us with a deep regret and sorrow for what we would have done, what we should have done, and what we could have did differently. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. This is what we're going to do. If we sit there and allow fear to continue to take control of our lives. So why would we sit here and waste this opportunity? Why will we risk our salvation on this? So what we have to do is we got to curb this. We gotta break this bad cycle of what's going on here. So let's go to 2nd Esdras. Let's go to 2nd Esdras. 2nd Esdras, chapter 14. We're going to hit 2nd Esdras, chapter 14, verse 14 and verse 15. And it says, "Let go from thee mortal thoughts. Cast away the burdens of man. Put off now the weak nature, and set aside the thoughts that are most heavy unto thee, and haste thee to flee from these things." So all this baggage that we carrying, all these heavy burdens that we trying to drag along the way, we gotta put that stuff off. We gotta drop that stuff off from us. This is what we gotta do. So all this baggage, we gotta leave it there and drop it off and don't look back. So matter of fact, this won't in the teaching, but he even tell us here. So when we got to let go of these burdens of the world and these burdens of the flesh, and we got to take on another. He tell us here in Matthew chapter 11. He tell us right here in verse 28, going down to verse 30. He tell us, Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, going down to verse 30. He says, come unto me. This is Jehovah speaking. "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So this is what we want to take upon us. We got to let go of our own thoughts and our own ways and all these things that we dealing with, that we worrying about in this world, and we got to take on the things of Jehovah. Because we already seen what we've been called to do. What the things that's promised unto us. So we gotta put in this work and let go of this baggage. We can't take nothing for our journey. And he's telling us this. When we go to Luke, so we can see that there. When we go to Luke chapter 9, yeah, so we're gonna hit, matter of fact, let me hit it right here. I want to hit on this side. Yeah, Luke chapter 9. And we're going to hit verse 3. He letting us know right here. Luke chapter 9 and verse 3. He says, and he said unto them, take nothing for your journey. So you can't take nothing on this walk. You can't take nothing on this path. He said, neither staves, nor scrip, neither bread, neither money, neither having two coats apiece. So we can't take none of this stuff. But let's look at some of this stuff so we can understand what these things are. So he said neither staves. So let's see what these staves are. He tell you what, staves is weapons, the staff. So we can't take no weapons with us. Because why? Our weapon is the word of God. That's our weapon. So we can't take none of that stuff with us. And he tell us nor script. So we can't take no script. What's a script? You gotta excuse me for my typing. So, but we gonna see the script. He says what? Bag, provision, readiness, ministry, these worldly concerns. Look at that. So he telling you can't take these worldly concerns with you. So we can't keep having all these worldly concerns. Stop sitting over there worrying about what your mama got going on, what your daddy got going on, what your sister doing, what your brother doing, your cousins, your kids, especially if they grown. You're worrying about your job, what your job got going on, worrying about everything they talking about on social media, worrying about how much money you gonna make. We got to stop worrying about all these things, these worldly concerns. It ain't no profit in it. So we can't take none of this stuff on our journey. We have to leave that behind. And what he say? Neither bread. We can't, okay, bread. That's knowledge. We can't take no other knowledge or any other doctrine with us. We can't take these things with us. Because matter of fact, we even see here. We're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 8. Let's look at something, Deuteronomy chapter 8 and verse 3. He telling us right here. He says, and he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger and fed thee with manna. So this manna, matter of fact, I've been going over here, so I might as well, so we can go ahead and see what's this manna. What? This bread from heaven, the knowledge from heaven. This is what he's saying. This is what he fed us with. This knowledge from heaven, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man do not live by bread. So man do not live by knowledge alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Spirit of God do man live. So we can't be sitting here depending on our own provisions. We can't be dependent on our own knowledge. We can't be dependent on worldly knowledge. We can't live by that. These carnal things. We can't live by the things of the world, but we have to live by the word. We have to live by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Jehovah, that doctrine of God. That's what's going to give us life. That's what we have to trust in. And we can't take no money. He said neither money. So you can't take no wealth, no riches, or these material possessions. So why are we worrying about money? Why are we sitting there trying to hold on to money as long as we can? You even have some people that will sit there and think that they can bury their money with them. That's how attached that we've become to these temporary things. He even tell us here when we go to Psalms. We're going to go to Psalms chapter 52. Yeah, Psalms chapter 52. Let's see. Yeah, it's right here. Yeah, Psalms chapter 52 and verse 7. He tells us right here. He says, "Lo, this is the man, the male or female, that made not God his strength, but trusted in the abundance of his riches and strengthened himself in his wickedness." So these are the things we can't trust in. We can't trust in these riches and these worldly possessions. Let's go to 1 Timothy. He tells us in 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 9. We're going to hit 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 9. He tells us, he says, "But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition." Verse 10. "For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows." See, this is what's going to happen. We were sitting there putting our trust in money, putting our trust in material possessions and material wealth. We can't take those things with us because, matter of fact, when we hit verse 7, he letting us know right here. Anybody that want to sit there and think they're going to be able to hold on to their money, he letting us know. In the same chapter, 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 7, he says, "For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain that we can carry nothing out." So it don't matter how much money you got or how rich you are in this world. It's all vanity. You can't take none of that with you, no matter what. Neither having two coats of peace. So we can't have two coverings. We either going to hold to the spirit of God or we're going to hold to another spirit, which is of Satan. So this is what we're looking at. This is how we have to go on this journey, how we have to go on this walk, on this path. We can't have all this extra baggage and all this extra stuff with us because when we drop all that stuff off, all we have left now is to depend on the word. That's it. That's all we have left to depend on is Jehovah. What he is teaching us. That's all we need from this point forward because that's what we have to trust in. So now let's go to Baruch. We're going to go to Baruch. Yeah, Baruch chapter 3. Let's hit Baruch chapter 3 and verse 14. He's telling us, he says, "Learn where is wisdom." Matter of fact, let's see learn. Because he making it clear to us. Read, understand. He letting us know. Let's go right to learn. What he say? Study, understand, discern. So he letting us know. We got to study. We got to understand where wisdom is. This is what we have to do. Where is strength? Where is understanding? That thou mayest know also where is length of days and life. Where is the light of the eyes of the understandings and peace? This is what we desire, right? This is what we want. So guess what? We got to study. We got to get understanding. So this is why we got to stay in this book. This is why we got to stay in the gym. Because this is our life now. Providing we have let go of those worldly concerns, that script. Providing we've put those things off. We don't have to sit there and ponder on vain thoughts and things and vain imaginations, worrying about what we need to do next. Because he already making it very clear to us what it is that we need to do. We have to learn. We have to study. We have to open up the book to get wisdom, the true riches. See, now you ain't got to second guess nothing. You ain't got to wonder about, oh, what I need to do next, because you know what you need to do next now. We know it now. So we won't second guessing ourselves when we was out there in the world making money. We know how to do that real easy. We can do that with no questions asked. So now, why we can't do that when it comes to the word of God? It's time for us to get these true riches. This is what we have to do. So let's go to Wisdom of Solomon. We're going to look at this for a little bit. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 8 and verse 5. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 8 and verse 5. He tells us, providing riches be a possession to be desired in this life, what is richer than wisdom, that worketh all things? So he's asking us the question, what's richer than wisdom? So now let's go to Wisdom of Solomon chapter 7. We'll put it on the right side of the screen. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 7, starting at verse 8. And we'll take it down to verse 10. What's richer than wisdom? He's telling us, I preferred her. So he's speaking of wisdom before scepters and thrones, and esteem riches nothing in comparison to her. Verse 9. Neither compared I unto her any precious stone, because all gold in respect of her is as a little sand, and silver shall be counted as clay before her. I loved her above health and beauty, and chose to have her instead of light. For the light that cometh from her never goeth out. Why? Because wisdom, she is the true light. It's eternal. It's everlasting. So this wisdom of the world can't compare to the wisdom from God. And we can see this. We're going to go to 1 Corinthians. So we can't put our confidence in the stuff of this world. We can't put our confidence in man's wisdom. So let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 2. And we're going to hit verse 6 down to verse 8. He letting us know. He says, howbeit, we speak wisdom among them that are perfect, yet not the wisdom of this world, nor the princes of this world that come to naught. But we speak the wisdom of God in a mystery, even the hidden wisdom, which God ordained before the world unto our glory. Verse 8, which none of the princes of this world knew. For had they known it, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. Now let's go to John. John chapter 1. Then we're going to hit verse 9 down to verse 11. He tells us right here, that was the true light, the wisdom from God, which lighteth every man, every male or female that cometh into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. So this is the light that we speaking of, that true wisdom from JEHOVAH, which the world didn't know because they rejected it. Verse 11, he came unto his own, and his own received him not, because the world rejects the truth. That's why all this confusion is here. All these different doctrines and beliefs in the world, because man trusts in himself, in his own strength, and refuses to acknowledge JEHOVAH as the true God. So let's go to James. We're going to go to James chapter 3. James chapter 3. We're going to hit verse 14 down to 17. He tells us, however, if ye have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, glory not, and lie not against the truth. This wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, devilish. Verse 16, for where envying and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work. See, this is the wisdom of the world, the light of this world, this confusion and every evil work. This is what this world trusts in as their light, as their wisdom. And we can't trust in this stuff anymore. We have to put this stuff far from us. But that's why he tells us in verse 17, but the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. So we clearly seeing the difference between the two. So now we'll go back over here to Wisdom of Solomon. We'll go back over here to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7. And we'll reiterate verse 10 and we'll hit verse 11. So Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 10 and verse 11. And it says, I loved her, so I promised her above health and beauty, and chose to have her instead of light. So instead of the wisdom of this world, for the light that cometh from her never goeth out. Verse 11, all good things together came to me with her, and innumerable riches in her hands and her powers. So these innumerable riches, you can't count it. So this is what we should be seeking. These true riches, these riches from heaven, the wisdom of God. So if we put our minds to seek after Jehovah and his truth, instead of our own understanding and our own ways of thinking, then we can curve this issue that we're having. Instead of cursing, we can receive blessings. Because we have to always remember that choice is always before us. He giving us the option to choose what side we gonna hold to. It's up to us what we gonna choose. He telling us when we go over here to Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 19. He telling you. He says, I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set in the presence of you life and death, blessing and cursing. For that reason, choose life. You see? That both thou and thy seed may live. So we seen how in this teaching, we seen how when we are disobedient and when we sit there and follow our own way and hold to our own thoughts, how all these curses came upon us for these things. But now Jehovah has given us an opportunity to be redeemed from those things. So providing we have acknowledged our sins and recognized the fact that our flesh is no good for us and we have limitations. So then we have to drop our own ways of thinking. We drop our doubts. We drop our worries. We drop our fears. We let go of these worldly concerns. We leave all those things behind. And now all we have left, all we can do now is only depend on the wisdom from Jehovah. So now we have an opportunity to curve this. We can now receive the blessings that he's promised us because those things are there for us. But we have to truly desire that because this also was prophesied to happen. So we can't just see one without the other. But we got to get to this. We got to be able to get to this point. So now we're gonna go to Deuteronomy, and now we're gonna hit chapter 28 again, but now we're gonna hit verse 1 and verse 2. And he telling us, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1 and verse 2. He says, and it shall come to pass, providing thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Spirit of God thy guide, to observe to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Spirit of God thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. And all these blessings, these given of wisdom and understanding and knowledge shall come upon thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Spirit of God thy God. So it's on this condition. We have to be willing to hearken unto his voice. So he letting us know that's going to come to pass, providing we do what we got to do. This is what we got to do. So we're going to look at a little bit of it, just some of it when we gonna hit verse 9 and verse 10. Just this part right here. And he telling us right here. In verse 9 and verse 10. He's saying, the Spirit of God shall establish thee a holy people, a separated people unto himself, as he has sworn unto thee. Why? Because we've seen this at the very beginning of this teaching. So he ain't changed from it. But it's up to, but we got to do right. We got to do what we got to do. He gonna hold to his end, but we got to hold to ours. So he telling us, the Spirit of God shall establish thee an holy people unto himself, as he has sworn unto thee, providing thou should keep the commandments of the Spirit of God thy guide, and live in his ways. And all the people of the earth shall see that thou art in your perfection and beauty, called by the way of the Spirit of God, and they shall be afraid of thee. So we see that he's telling us that this is going to happen, providing we live in all his ways, which he has commanded us to do. This is all we need to do. So it's not like he's keeping it from us, but it's up to us on what we're going to do. So we see the outline, but we have to follow the instructions. We can't sit there and try to cut any corners. We have to walk on this straight line. We can see he said, what did he say? As he have sworn unto thee. So he binded this. This was an oath. That's what we have to understand. As we mentioned at the beginning of this lesson. Matter of fact, let's go back to it. We're gonna go back over here to Psalms. Psalms chapter 135. You see it's already highlighted because we hit it earlier. Psalms chapter 135 verse 4, it says, for the Spirit of God hath chosen Jacob unto himself, and Israel, his servants, Jehovah's servants, for his peculiar treasure. So this is something, it ain't never changed. I just want to point that out because you have people that there is people that believe that the Most High changed something, and that's not true. You have people out there that will say, oh, he was talking about them back then. It's different now. See, this is what people believe, but I can assure you the same thing that he said back in that time is the same thing that stands today. So we're going to make this clear. We just got to make this clear for anybody out there that believes that the Most High did away with his covenant of his people Israel. So we gonna make this clear. So let's go over here. Let's go over here to Jeremiah. Let's go to Jeremiah real quick. We're gonna go to Jeremiah chapter 31. And we're gonna hit verse 31 down to 34. Jeremiah chapter 31. We're gonna hit verse 31 down to 34. And it says, behold, remember, the days come, saith the Spirit of God, that I would make a new covenant, a familiar covenant. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and see that. We should already know what this is saying, but we gonna look at it. So just to make sure we see familiar. He letting us know right there. This new covenant. It's a familiar covenant. He said, I will make a familiar covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was a husband unto them, said the Spirit of God. So the thing is, he already done this before. The only difference is back then they were just being told things. It was written on stone. But now these things that he's telling us is going to be written on our hearts. It's going to be in us. That's what's going on. So now we hit verse 33. Oh, I didn't even move the screen. Sorry about that. I'll repeat. I'll read it again. Starting the back at, we'll just start at verse 31 again and read it again. It says, remember, the days cometh, saith the Spirit of God, that I will make this familiar covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the power to bring them out of the land of Egypt, the house of bondage, which my covenant they break, although I was a husband unto them, saith the Spirit of God. But this shall be the covenant, the agreement that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Spirit of God. I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Verse 34, and they shall teach no more every man, every male or female, his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, know the Spirit of God, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Spirit of God. And I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. Because when we hear that truth go out from the true word of God, we're going to know him. We ain't got to teach know the Lord. Because all we got to do is give warning and instructions on what he's saying. Because once that word go out, providing that we want to his, we're going to hear his voice. He telling us right here. We're going to look at this real quick. We're going to go to John. We're going to John chapter 10. And we're going to hit verse 27. He tells us right here. He says, my sheep, so my followers, hear my voice. And I know them, and they follow me. Why? Because you're going to know him. So he's making this clear for us. So this isn't rocket science. So he's making this really clear. So anybody that hears the true word of God and rejects it and decides to walk away from it and fails to hearken to those instructions and decide to follow your own way and your own belief on how you see things, when you do that, he's telling you right here. I don't have to tell you. He's telling you right here. When we look at verse 26, he says, but ye believe not, because ye are not my sheep, as I said unto you. So just as the ones that want to sit there and say that Jehovah did away with his covenant with his people, now they think he talking about everybody. The same ones that saying, oh, he did away with that. That was for them back then. Okay, hold on to that. And guess what? This right here is for you. Because when we get right here, when we go back to Jeremiah, and we're going to start at verse 35, we're going to take it from verse 35 down to verse 37. For the ones that sitting there thinking that the Most High did away with the covenant for his people. We're going to see it right here. Verse 35, he tells us, he says, thus saith the Spirit of God, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. The Spirit of God of hosts is his way. Verse 36, if those ordinances depart from before me, saith the Spirit of God, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. So the thing is, when you go outside every day, you tell me, is that sun up there or not? It's been the same since the beginning of time, and it ain't never changed. It rises from the east and sets in the west. That ain't never changed and will never change. Just as at night, you see the moon and how it goes through its cycles every month, and the stars, those things will never change. So you tell me, if those ordinances pass from the presence of the Spirit of God, then the seed of Israel will cease from being a nation. So ain't nobody seeing those ordinances pass away or go nowhere. They still here. So guess what? The seed of Israel is still here. His people is still here. So he ain't never left off from his people. That's been the same since the beginning and will be to the end. And that will never change. Verse 37, thus said the Spirit of God, if heaven above can be measured and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, I will also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, saith the Spirit of God. So does anybody think they can do that? That's why you have these men that make these attempts to exalt themselves and create these spaceships and try to reach into heaven. And they fail every single time. Then they try to search out the bottoms of the earth and they fail every single time. This is what man does. But the point is, these things will not happen. Why? Because Jehovah will not break his covenant nor alter anything that is gone from his lips. And we're going to see this. Let's go to it. We're going to go to Psalms. Psalms chapter 89, verse 34. He telling us right here. Psalms 89:34. He says, my covenant, my agreement will I not break nor alter the thing that is gone from my lips. Malachi. Malachi chapter 3 and verse 6. Malachi 3 verse 6. He says, for I am the Spirit of God. I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. Why? Because he's not going to do away with his people. So people that want to sit there and believe that think the Most High going to do away with his people, then you can just close your book up and throw it away because you're not going to need it. It's a waste of time. This is the thing. So let's go to Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 8. He telling us right here. And people see this in all different types of ways. But he tells us right here. Jesus Christ, meaning salvation of Jehovah, is the same yesterday and today and forever. So we see that. We see he don't ever change. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. This word ain't never gonna change. Matter of fact, we're gonna throw one more in there. The people that sit there, they love Paul. Like, oh, Paul this. Okay. Well, let's see what Paul said. So now let's go to Romans chapter 11 and verse 1. Okay. And what did he say? Romans chapter 11 and verse 1. It says, this is Paul. He says, I say then, have God cast away his people? No, God forbid. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. So this is clear. This is clear what's going on. He ain't never changed. So let's get back to this lesson, because we have to remember, once we take on Christ, once we take on Jehovah, we have to take Jehovah on fully, unwavering, in complete obedience to him. Now we have an opportunity to receive these blessings that he laid upon us. So we're going to go back to this lesson. So we're gonna go back over here to Deuteronomy chapter 28. And we was over here at verse 9. But we're going to hit Deuteronomy chapter 28. We're going to reiterate verse 9. But we're going to take it down to 14. So Deuteronomy chapter 28, starting at verse 9, going down to 14. And it says, the Spirit of God shall establish thee an holy people unto himself, as he have sworn unto thee. We seen that. Provided thou shalt keep the commandments of the Spirit of God thy God, and live in his ways. And all people of the earth shall see that thou in your perfection and beauty, called by the way of the Spirit of God, and they shall be afraid of thee. Verse 11. And the Spirit of God shall make thee plenteous in goods, and the fruit, so the works of thy body, in the works of thy cattle, and the works of thy ground, in the land which the Spirit of God sware unto thy fathers to give thee. Verse 12. The Spirit of God shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven to give the rain. So he's going to give his blessings, his favor, his knowledge unto thy land, so unto the people in his season, and to bless all the work of thine power. Thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. Verse 13. And the Spirit of God shall make thee the head and not the tail, and thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath. Provided thou hearken unto the commandments of the Spirit of God thy guide, which I command thee this day, to observe and to do them. And thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods, so other idols, to serve them. So he's telling us all these things will come upon us, this abundance of all these things, these innumerable riches, as we were looking at in Wisdom of Solomon. But we just got to stay the course. We can't look to the right. We can't look to the left. We just got to put in this work and do what we have to do to get out of this state that we're in, this state of unbelief. We have to keep that in mind. We have to transition from that. So now, let's go to 2nd Esdras. Let's go to 2nd Esdras, chapter 2. 2nd Esdras, chapter 2, and verse 34. 2nd Esdras, chapter 2, and verse 34. And he says, "And therefore I say unto you, O you heathen." We remember what this is, right? If not, we can go back to it. So just so we can keep that fresh in our mind, so we understand what we're talking about. When we talking about heathen, we see this unbelief. These heathens. What we looking at? These heathens, Gentiles. What we talking about of the mind? Unbelievers. So this is what we talking about. This is why we here, because we got to transition from this. We got to transition from this state. We can't stay like this. So that's why he's telling us. "And therefore I say unto you, O ye unbelievers, that hear and understand, look for your shepherd, look for JEHOVAH. He shall give you everlasting rest." We seen that. He said, "Take my yoke upon you. For he is nigh at hand, that shall come in the end of the world." Because as we seen, because we got to remember, because he told us, we're going to hit this again. We hit it earlier, but we're going to hit this again and make sure we got it. It says, "Ye know that you were Gentiles, carried away unto these dumb idols, even as you were led." This is why he said, "Oh, you heathen," because this is what we was into. Because this is the stuff that we was doing. These Gentiles of the mind, following all these things of the world. That's why he's saying this. So this isn't talking about a whole different nation of people. We the same people. But we went off far into confusion, following these devilish doctrines. This is us. This is the children of Israel that he's speaking of. We was following all these philosophies of the world that men push. But now we've been called back to righteousness, to come back to remembrance of those things that we've done and how we've fallen. Now we have an opportunity to redeem ourselves from those things and hearken unto our God, JEHOVAH, our shepherd. This is who we have to follow now. So let's go to Hebrews. We're going to go to Hebrews chapter 4, verse 11. He telling us, Hebrews chapter 4, verse 11. He says, "Let us labor for that reason to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief." So this is what we have to be striving for, this rest, this eternal peace, the eternal life that we're seeking, that assurance of life and safety. This is what we're hoping for. So we have to labor. We have to put in this work. 2 Peter chapter 1 and verse 10. 2 Peter chapter 1 and verse 10. He telling us. He says, "Wherefore the rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and your election sure. For if you do these things, ye shall never fall." Now let's go to Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 26. Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 26. And it says, "For the Spirit of God shall be thy confidence, and shall keep thy foot." So he's going to keep thy desire from being taken. So he's going to be our confidence. He's going to be our assurance, our hope, our trust. So this is all we've been talking about the entire time. Having that faith, that expectation of that desire in Jehovah, because he's going to give us assurance. Then we don't have to worry because because that's who we're going to trust in. We're going to trust that he's with us. Wherever it is that we have to go through, whatever challenges that we have to face, we have assurance and certainty that he's going to help us through each and every one of those things and be our protection, providing we let go of our own ways. Because remember, we can't have it both ways. It's either going to be one or the other. It can't be no in between. Because we can't sit there. We like to have wiggle room. We can't have no wiggle room for anything. We gotta make this clear. He tell us in Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. He says, no man, no male or female can serve two masters. For either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. So it's either going to be one or the other. We're going to either serve the flesh, these material possessions in this world that you can get here, or you're either going to trust in that, or we're going to serve and trust in Jehovah. So it's either going to be one or the other. So let's go to Revelation. Chapter 3. Revelation chapter 3. Verse 15. Verse 16. And it says, I know thy works, that thou art in your perfection and beauty. He says, I know thy works, that thou art in your perfection and beauty, neither cold nor hot. I would thou were cold or hot. So then, because thou art lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth. So we can't be lukewarm. Let's see that. Because I want to make sure that we don't second guess or wonder about anything. We want to know exactly what we're looking at. He says lukewarm, indifferent, half-hearted. So we can't be this. So we can't be half-hearted. It can't be no in-between. We can't sit there and serve Jehovah when it's convenient for us. But then as soon as things start getting tough for us, and we start trusting in our own selves again. Nah, it can't work that way. Because he's making it clear right here. It can't be no conditions. We can't say, oh, well, Lord, I'll serve you, but as long as I can do this, and if you just let me do that, just give me some. Nah, we either gonna be all in or we gonna be all out. So we gotta buckle down and be ready for the ride because we gotta go on this journey. So we ain't got no reason to be afraid or fear anything, anything that we gotta face, the way we gotta go. Because Jehovah is leading us. He's gonna guide us through these things. So now let's go to Sirach. Yep. So we're gonna hit Sirach, chapter 34, and then we're gonna hit verse 14 down to 16. Because he's telling us. He says, "Whoso feareth desire of the Creator shall not fear, nor be afraid, for he is his hope." Verse 15, blessed, wisdom is given, is the soul of him that desireth the Creator. To whom doeth he look? And who is his strength? For the eyes, the understandings of the Creator are upon them that love him, that promise him, that trust him. Because we can't even see that. Because I want to make sure we see that. Promise. It's a vow, our vow. It's also trust. So we see that. So the eyes of the Creator are upon them that trust him, that promise him. He is their mighty protection and strong stay, a defense from heat, and a cover from the sun at noon, and a preservation from stumbling, and a help from falling. So he's making this clear. We have to trust in him no matter what. No matter how hard it get, no matter what we face, what we might encounter. If we trust him, he's letting us know that he's going to carry us through this. So we don't got to worry about nothing else. We just got to keep moving. So now let's go to Psalms. We're going to hit Psalms chapter 118. Psalms chapter 118 and verse 6 down to verse 9. He telling us, he says, the Spirit of God is on my side. I will not fear. What can man do unto me? Because what can man do unto you? What can man do? The Spirit of God is on our side. We shouldn't be fearing man. Because he tell us right here in Matthew chapter 10 and verse 28, he tell you. In Matthew chapter 10, verse 28, he says, and fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. So we got to keep this in mind. So back over here in Psalms chapter 118, starting at verse 7, he says, the Spirit of God taketh my part with them that help me. For that reason shall I see my desire upon them that hate me. It is better to trust in the Spirit of God than to put confidence in man. It is better to trust in the Spirit of God than to put confidence in princes. So this is what we need to do. So no matter what, it doesn't matter what man attempts to do to threaten the followers of Jehovah. So you don't have to worry about these things that's going on around you. As long as we put our trust in Jehovah, he's going to defend us. So we have to stand strong in the midst of adversity and don't worry about what man can do to us. Because matter of fact, we even going to see an example of that. So we can see how important it is to trust in Jehovah no matter what you face and no matter what you're going through. So we're going to hit Acts chapter 5. And we just want to look at this example, starting at verse 15. So we hit Acts chapter 5, starting at verse 15. We're going to take it down. Yeah, so we're gonna take it down to 33. So we just gonna read it through. So we just want to see what's going on. So Acts chapter 5. We're gonna start at verse 16, going down. And it says, there came also a multitude out of the cities round about unto Jerusalem, bringing sick folks, and them which were vexed with unclean spirits, and they were healed, every one. Then the high priest rose up, and all they that were with him, which is the set of the Sadducees, and were filled with indignation, and laid their hands upon the apostles, and put them in the common prison. Verse 19, but the angel, the messenger of the Creator, by night opened the prison doors and brought them forth and said, go, stand and speak in the temple to the people all the words of this life. Verse 21, and when they heard that, they entered into the temple early in the morning and taught. But the high priest came, and they that were with him, and called the council together, and all the senate of the children of Israel, and sent to the prison to have them brought. But when the officers came and found them not in the prison, they returned and told, saying, the prison truly found we shut with all safety, and the keepers standing without before the doors. But when we had opened, we found no man within. Verse 24, now when the high priest and the captain of the temple and the chief priest heard these things, they doubted of them whereunto this would grow. Then came one and told them, saying, remember, the men whom ye put in prison are standing in the temple and teaching the people. He's like, y'all, they over there teaching. Verse 26, Then when the captain of with the officers brought them without violence, for they feared the people, lest they should have been stoned. And when they had brought them, they set them before council. And the high priest asked them, saying, Did not we straitly command you that ye should not teach in this way? And remember, ye have filled Jerusalem, you have filled Israel with your doctrine, and intend to bring this man's blood, this man's lifestyle upon us. So this is the same thing that people do today. When we go out and we speak truth, they don't want to hear it. They try to shut you up and even threaten you, doing all these things. But even with all that happening, we're going to see, did they waver from what they believed in? We're going to see it. Verse 29. Then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, We ought to obey God rather than men. The God of our fathers raised up salvation, whom ye slew and hanged on a tree. Him have God exalted with his righteous power to be a prince and a savior, for to give repentance, remembrance to Israel, and forgiveness of sins. And we are his witnesses of these things. And so is the Holy Ghost, the separated body, whom God hath given to them that obey him. Verse 33. And when they heard that, they were cut to the heart and took counsel to slay them. So we're seeing how this works. We can't fold and become fearful in the midst of adversity, but we have to be steadfast in what we know to be true and have patience, trusting in the Spirit of God will defend us in every trial, in every challenge, and every battle that we encounter, that we face. Because no matter what, no matter where we are and what position we in, this word has to go forth. So we can't be afraid to speak the truth, because we have to remember who our salvation is. And we're going to see this. When we go to Isaiah chapter 12, we're just going to hit it. Isaiah chapter 12 and verse 2. He telling us right here, he says, Remember, God is my salvation. This is JEHOVAH. I will trust and not be afraid. For the Spirit of God, JEHOVAH, is my strength and my song, my confession. He also is become my salvation. So now let's go to Psalms. We're going to go to Psalms chapter 62. We're going to hit verse 5 down to verse 8. Psalms chapter 62, verse 5 down to verse 8. And it says, My soul, wait thou only upon JEHOVAH, for my expectation is from him. Verse 6. He only is my rock and my salvation. He is my defense. I shall not be moved. In God is my salvation and my glory. The rock of my strength and my refuge is in God. Verse 8. Trust in him at all times, ye people. Pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us. Selah. So we have to meditate on these things. So we have to keep all these things in mind and remember what it is that we are hoping for. This journey to redemption. So we have to overcome these things and fulfill the works of what we need to do so we can be sealed according to his promise. This is what we're looking to do. So we're going to look at something in Revelations. As we begin to wind down this teaching, we're going to hit these last couple verses. But we're going to pull this over in Revelations chapter 22. We're gonna start at verse 1. And this is just something that we wanna meditate on. Just meditate on what's going on here. So Revelations chapter 21, we're gonna hit verse 1 down to verse 7. Revelations chapter 22, starting at verse 1. And it says, And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of God and of the Lamb. In the midst of the street of it, on either side of the river, was there a tree. So we notice an elder of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit, her work every month. And the leaves of the tree were for the healings of the nations. Verse 3. And there shall be no more curse, but the throne of God and of the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him. Verse 4. And they shall see his face, and his way. So his way shall be in their foreheads. So we want to look at that so we can see exactly what he's telling us. We see it. Eyes, brow, mind. It's a seal. It's a mark, a frontlet. We see it right here. Assurance, confidence. Why? Because he has to be our confidence. He's our assurance. We want to be sealed with this. This is what he's telling us. So this is going to be in our foreheads. It's going to be in our assurance. It's going to be in our confidence. Verse 5. And there should be no night there, and they need no candle, neither light of the sun. For the Creator God giveth them light. So he give them wisdom. He give them understanding, because that's our light, the true light that never goeth out. And they shall reign forever and ever. Verse 6. And he said unto me, these sayings are faithful and true. And the Creator JEHOVAH of the holy prophets sent his messenger to show unto his servants the things which must shortly be done. Verse 7. Remember, I come quickly. Blessed, wisdom is given, is he that keepeth the sayings of the prophecy of this book. So now we'll pull this last verse in Psalms chapter 37. We're going to hit verse 39 and verse 40. Psalms chapter 37. Excuse me. We're going to start at verse 37. So we're going to hit Psalms chapter 37, verse 37 down to verse 40. And he tell us, mark the perfect man. We already seen what that mark is. It has to be in our foreheads. Our confidence, our assurance. We see this. This is what we want. We'll go here. And we see it right here, a mark. We see what we want. It's a sign, it's a seal, evidence, a token. This is what we want. So he's telling us, mark the perfect man. We want to be sealed. And remember the upright. For the end of that man, that male or female, is peace. Verse 38. But transgressors shall be destroyed together, and the end of the wicked shall be cut off. So he's making it real clear to us. If we decide to still hold on to our own ways and thought process, and we deny what we need to do, we see what's going to happen. But the salvation of the righteous is of the Spirit of God. He is their strength in the time of trouble. Verse 40. And the Spirit of God shall help them and deliver them. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them, because they trust in him. So, as we seen in this teaching, we see what happens when we leave off from our protection, our defense, our ultimate life source, which is the God of Israel, JEHOVAH. We see the issues that come with it and the troubles that we can have. So it is absolutely imperative that we do not allow our own thoughts, our own fears and doubts to continue to have dominion over us. Because if we stay lingering in those things, it's only going to lead to a state of unbelief, keeping us separated from God. And this is what we don't want to happen. So we have to break this curse of unbelief and renew our minds to trust in JEHOVAH in all aspects of our lives, no matter what we encounter or what we may go through. But in order to do this, In order to truly put all our trust in Jehovah, we have to come to him in humility. We must acknowledge our sins and recognize our limits, our limitations. The fears and the doubts that we have to recognize those things and be willing to face them and overcome them, that he may heal us. We have to recognize that without Jehovah's guidance, we can't do anything. So when we truly allow Jehovah to lead and guide us with a sincere and genuine heart, providing God be with us, who can be against us? So with that, I hope that everyone was richly edified by this lesson and that we consider what it is that we need to do to move forward on our journey and the purpose that God has called us to fulfill, with hopes of being one of the ones that he is looking for, that's chosen to be a part of his kingdom. So with that, I appreciate everyone for coming out and tuning in with me. This was Deacon Ernest James coming out of Durham, North Carolina, King James Bible University. And I would like to say, Shalom.
Wow.